Hi there. Today we'll be learning about success in entrepreneurship. The main topic of this presentation is innovation and business success, and is brought to you by Lecture Multimedia Group 25. Let's define entrepreneurship. According to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, an entrepreneur is one who organizes, manages, and assumes the risk of a business or enterprise. After 10 weeks of research, we have concluded that there is a formula for business success, regardless of whether you are online or not. The formula is data leads to information, leads to knowledge, leads to innovation. If you come to class often, you're sure to realize that this is very similar to the information spectrum. That's the formula for success. Now, the last one, innovation, is a bit tricky, but is also the most important part of the entire formula. So important, in fact, that we dedicated this entire presentation to it. Let's take a look at innovation a bit closer. The 7 disciplines of innovation. Innovation is the specific function of entrepreneurship, whether in an existing business, a public service institution, or a new venture started by a lone individual in the family kitchen. Is the means by which the entrepreneur either creates new wealth-producing resources or endows existing resources with enhanced potential for creating wealth. This passage comes from Peter Drucker's influential article, The Discipline of Innovation. Drucker was an American business philosopher who laid down the foundations for the modern business corporation. In his article, he outlined 7 disciplines of innovation: unexpected occurrences, process needed, industry and market change, incongruities, demographic changes, changes in perception, and new knowledge. Let's take a look at each and how they integrate themselves with data, business, and success.
Unexpected occurrences are simply when a product fails unexpectedly or succeeds because of reasons that weren't planned for while it was being produced. Larger companies generally ignore when this happens, usually writing it off as a fluke, but successful innovators examine these occurrences in order to learn from and utilize these events to their advantage. Examples of these unexpected occurrences was the failure of the Ford Edsel. This project was heavily planned for based on the idea that people bought cars based on their income level, but sales were dismal. This led Ford to realize that people bought cars based on lifestyles instead of income. They responded with the Ford Mustang, which helped them become the successful car company they are today. Another unexpected failure was Google Catalogs. Google Catalogs were scanned catalogs that allowed people to view them in order to place orders from companies, but it was never used due to the fact that most companies made websites for online shopping. Despite the failure of Google Catalogs, Google was able to utilize the same technology for Google Books, which was a success.
Next, we have process needs. Process needs are innovations that exploit things that users want and need from a system. Google meets the needs and wants of its users by allowing them to search based on rankings and website evaluations. This allows them to find relevant, credible information quickly and efficiently. This is one way Google meets the process needs of its users. Another example of this is the Japan highway system. The system is not modernized. The roads were paved by ox carts during the 10th century. The way that this system works is an adaptation of the reflector, which has been used on American highways since the 1930s. The reflector allows cars to see other cars from a half dozen directions. This innovation has enabled traffic to move smoothly by exploiting a process need.
Next, we're talking about industries and market change. The rise of companies such as Google and Amazon can largely be attributed to their awareness of and reaction to inevitable industry and market changes. A typical dilemma that established tech companies eventually face is figuring out how to respond to growing market segments. The new opportunities presented are difficult for many to approach, leaving room for innovators to come in and establish themselves. An example of this would be when Google decided to develop its spell check based off of search engine raw data, which greatly pushed it ahead of Yahoo, who had not decided to develop this technology. It's one thing to know how to react to changes in the market, but in order to notice them, company must collect a substantial amount of data. This data must be analyzed to figure out what changes have occurred and how to plan accordingly. The data that is collected by these companies is usually kept secret through a great deal of security. This is for good reason. Preventing others from discovering these changes creates competitive advantage.
The next step is incongruities. This is when an idea is incongruous with reality, or a step incompatible with a procedure. Innovation can arise to those who exploit the issue. For example, in the 1960s, Alkin Laboratories co-founder Bill Connor took advantage of an incongruity in medical technology. Up until that point, the cataract eye surgery had been improved to the point where the only old-fashioned step left in the procedure was to cut a ligament. Because the step was so incompatible with the rest of the procedure, doctors dreaded it, despite having complete success. All Connor did was take an enzyme that was already widely known to dissolve the ligament and improve it, giving it a shelf life. This newly improved enzyme was immediately accepted by medical professionals, and Alkin Laboratories found themselves with a new monopoly.
Next up is demographic changes. They are defined as changes in quantifiable statistics in a population over time. Examples include trends of population age to usage of mobile devices. A current trend is an increase in the number of elderly. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, about a quarter of the U.S. population will be over the age of 65 by 2050. This increase has prompted many developers to design tablets, smartphones, and websites with the elderly in mind. Making sure screens and text can be seen and making layouts simpler have become common. How Google is taking advantage of these trends is through Google Analytics, a service Google offers to websites that provides detailed data about user demographics. Data includes how users use social media with the website to whether or not users access the web on a mobile device.
Up next, perception change. Another discipline of innovation is the change in perception. So what is perception? Perception is the result of interplay between what someone's past experiences, culture backgrounds, and interpretations of what he or she perceived. There are two traits of perception which give a chance to innovation. First, people will think differently of the same thing. Differences in perception offer opportunities for different market segments. Secondly, people's perception can change suddenly. The change of people's perception opens up a big opportunity for innovation. For example, people's perception of health changes from mortality rate for the newborn, survival rate for the very old, the cancer cure rate, and the collective rearing of diseases. This new view of health created the innovations of healthcare, magazines, health food industry, and exercise equipment.
Finally, we have new knowledge, which Drucker calls the superstar of entrepreneurship. New knowledge is the creation of new ideas and information, such as Charles Babbage and his analytical engine, which was the predecessor to the modern computer. Drucker describes 4 characteristics of new knowledge, such as large impact, they take time, has a high casualty rate, and has a high reliance on the market. All of this can be seen in the automobile industry. In 1920, there were 300 to 500 automobile companies, showing its explosive business appeal. By 1960, only 4 remained, showing a high casualty rate and a reliance on innovation in the market. From Drucker's disciplines of innovation, we can conclude that innovation drives business success. With data, you have numbers. With information, you have meaning. With knowledge, you have wisdom. But with innovation, you have success. Thank you for listening to our presentation. We hope we informed you on how to be successful in a business market.